Yeah.
And we're actually gonna talk about we're actually gonna talk about a Pacific. Is that
Specific.
Right? Specific.
You got a list, haven't you?
A little bit.
I like it.
We're gonna talk about a Pacific.
Spur.
Okay, can you say it, please?
No, go on, babe. You got this. You got this.
Say it.
Specific.
Okay. We're gonna categorize them into certain. Hey DayQ fam!
Welcome back to our channel.
Welcome back.
I think his intros are like better than mine now. You're just so hyped, babe. I like this.
Okay.
Extroverted Gabes. Let's do this. Anyway, welcome back to our channel, and we're on this career series because the struggle is real right now. We know it's tough times, exam season, or if you're in a job, you're just wondering, am I in the right job? Like me, asking the Lord, like, Jesus, show me a way. But yeah, so we just thought we'd talk about careers, and your questions were great, right?
Very good, and we had so many questions. So we want to thank you for sending through those questions. So in this video, we're going to be talking about knowing yourself.
Like, who am I? Who are you? Seriously, because you know what? The world will define you. People will define you. So it's better that you just know yourself from the get-go. Like, no one can tell me, oh, Anna, you're so impatient. I know I'm impatient. Or, Anna, you're so last minute. I know I'm last minute. Try and tell me something I don't know. Because I already know my imperfections and, you know, I know the areas that I need to work on. So I think it's really important that
to know yourself.
So, and I think it really relates to this whole career, because when you know yourself, you know the types of jobs that you should go for. You know where you'll do well in and where you won't. So yeah.
It's almost like sometimes what you're supposed to do is actually staring at you right in the face, but you can't see it. It's almost like with your nose. Okay, everybody can actually see their nose at all times, but because your nose is always in the same position, your eyes have actually decided to actually ignore your nose, but it's actually right there.
Wow, that's massive.
And the same thing is true with what you're supposed to do in life. It's staring at you right in the face. Like, sometimes people have things that they're really good at, they get complimented for all the time, but because they're so familiar with doing certain things, they just see it as, oh yeah, it's just anything. But really and truly, test out the things that people are complimenting you for.
Yeah, and sometimes we can look at it, these big things. Like, for me, talking, I'm not saying I'm like the world's greatest communicator or anything like that, but I just like talking, but I didn't see it as a gift because I was looking at the singers, the actors, the, you know, intelligent people. I was like, oh, they're so intelligent. I always wanted to be like the most intelligent in the room, but that's just never me. And
you're intelligent, babe.
Never, I'm not like, you know, I'm not going to bring no facts and stats and stuff like that, you know. I'll bring personal.
She brings energy, like...
I can bring that vibe, you know. No, jokes. But yeah, you don't take those things seriously, like atmosphere setup. I don't know what is that. But at the end of the day, when you know yourself, you then can appreciate the things that God has blessed you with, and like let other people do the other things, and not be always fighting to be great at everything. So yeah, we're going to go through the questions and just give you our perspectives on how we can all get to know ourselves a bit more and use that in our career so that we can excel and be where God wants us to be. So when trying to discover what we want to do with our lives or what we think we're meant to be doing, we really need to ask ourselves the question, what would we do if money was not an option? Yeah, we really have to get out of like worldly ways and thinking that money is going to bring us joy. It won't. And really, when you're doing something that you love and you're really passionate about it and you're joyful in that role, even that in itself will elevate you and will get you the promotions, and the money may come later, but it always comes from a place of you doing what you think you should be doing rather than chasing the money.
And the thing is, like, with this whole finding what to do, it's actually a journey. Don't let no one put pressure on you. Like, it actually broke my heart when I read I'm 24 and time is running out. Like, 24 is just like the beginning. Like, you're just coming out of university, and you might be still discovering yourself, and you have like a whole nother, you know, 50 years by God's grace, and like there's a journey to discover yourself, and you may not be doing what you want to do, but just because of where you started, it's not necessarily going to be the same place where you end. But there's a journey, and everyone's always talking about, you know, you're born, you go to school for 16 years or so, then you get married, then you have a child and you die. But literally, that's not really life. You actually go through ups, down journeys of discovering yourself.
never take for granted the time that you spend preparing, because preparing is never wasted time.
And nothing is actually happening by accident. So in terms of me working in compliance, I didn't actually have the dream to work in compliance. I thought I was going to go into finance, but I picked all the finance options and I went through it. And now I'm working in compliance, and you may be like, people may say, what's the point of studying finance for your whole life and then get into a place of working in compliance? Well, compliance is good to understand the legal terms, but it helps when you understand the financial economy and you understand financial instruments and all that kind of stuff, which is what I was learning. Yeah. So now when I'm sitting in front of a table talking to like a trader or talking to an investment manager, I actually understand what they're saying. I don't just come from a legal compliance perspective. I actually come from a place of, I actually understand what you're talking about, and now I can give them real life solutions to help mitigate some of the troubles that they're having. So whatever you've done in the past adds to the bigger picture of what you're going to do. So it's not just a place of, hey, like I've wasted 20 years of my life because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, and now I'm here trying to do something new. Those 20 years add up to you getting to this point here. So don't take the small things for granted, and just believe that, you know, I believe God doesn't waste any days whatsoever, and obviously it says that he can make 1,000 days like one day and vice versa. So it's not a waste of time. So you just have to just make sure that you just keep going and keep trusting in him. And we have to be really flexible with, you know, because sometimes we have things in our mind and like, oh yeah, when I'm 40 I want to be this, but God's plans are higher than our plans, so we need to be flexible and understand that our plans come in submission to God's plans. So for example, now I'm in sales, but I'm not saying that I'm going to be in sales like when I'm 40. I'm not forcing it. He's not saying he's going to be in finance when he's 50 or whatever. Like, we're very flexible and like, okay, God, if you lead us in a different direction, we want to be flexible and ready to be able to do that. We're not caught up in just like staying here because of the money or staying here because this is what we think we're meant to do for the rest of our lives. This is where God has put us right now, and we're just going to be flexible to where he wants to lead us in the future. And without sounding like I'm giving myself an excuse, but so in the last video I spoke about applying for loads of jobs and not being able to get them, and now looking back, there was a sense of idealism. Like I idolized finance, and I idolized, you know, just making money, and I wanted to have my own island and stuff like that, like stupid things I used to dream about when I was younger. And it wasn't until the point where I said, God, I don't care about the job anymore. I want to do what you want me to do. Then literally, that's when I got this silly phone call about a role in compliance. It's almost like there was a test in that moment where God was like, you said you want to do anything I want you to do, so here's a job with compliance. Let's see how faithful you are with that. And now I actually love compliance. So it's just being sensitive to just knowing who you are in Christ and just trusting him along the journey. And that kind of takes us on to our next point. Like, the more we spend time with God, the more you actually get to know yourself. Like, he's the one that created the hairs on your head. He's the one who knew you before you were in your mother's womb, and he can and he knows you more than you know yourself. So the more we spend with God, the more we actually get to understand ourselves, and we understand the desires and the passions that we have to the things that we want to pursue. When we understand that he made us uniquely, you really understand that there's something that you need to do here that no one else can do, or you really do start to understand that, wow, God made me in a specific way, different to Gabriel, different to other people. And when you start reading the word, you really do start to understand yourself more. Like, you read it, but it reads you, and it really tells you where you're at. It really tells you the kind of character that God has given you, the way you need to mature in, what you're good at, and all that kind of stuff. And I think it was only when I became a Christian that I actually started this whole self-discovery thing, because I was like, why do I never really knew that you should really start to get to know yourself, and it's not a thing that people tell you to do. You know, you're trying to understand organizations, you're trying to understand others, you're trying to understand what to do with life, but you're never told to understand yourself. So since I started on this walk with God, I really matured in knowing who I am and what he's told me to do, because if I hadn't, then I would have gone into politics, I would have gone into all this other stuff, I would have tried to be the most intellectual. But now that I'm understanding who God has made me to be, I know that right now, okay, sales is the right job for me, and then later on it might be something else, but I'm really sensitive to the fact that he wants me to do something that's in line with the way that he's made me. So it's just really important about getting to know yourself and understanding who you are, and that will dictate what GCSEs to study, what to study in college, what to study at university, what to even study, what to even pursue as a career. If we just align ourselves with the things that God wants us to do, like you will never feel like you're not doing the right thing. So you just got to just trust in Him and get to know yourself a lot more and enjoying the journey. But so based on getting to know yourself, someone has asked us to do a SWOT analysis based on the skill sets that we have and the roles that we're currently doing. So
for those of you who don't know what SWOT analysis is, it's a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. People do them on organizations, people do them on teams, but then we should also do them on ourselves as well to really understand ourselves.
Definitely. So what we're going to do, Anna is going to do a SWOT analysis on myself and why I am doing my current role, and I will also be doing one on her and telling you why she's good at what she does in her current place of sales.
So we're going to do strengths first.
Strengths.
Gabe's strength is attention to detail. My gosh, he will know if there's a full stop missing. He will know if my makeup is not on point. Every day he analyzes if my glasses have, a smear in them. He is there. He's just very, very detail orientated, and his level of excellence is something that I've never, ever seen, and it frustrates me so much, but I know it's always pushing me to new heights. So in relation to his career in compliance, like, you can't miss something. You can't miss a payment that's come through that's above the threshold. Like, you can't miss things. You need to know the smallest of things and make sure it's right, so that when you report it to the regulators, it's completely accurate, and you just minimize the risk that the bank has. And I think that's a really good strength of yours, and that's why you're in compliance.
Great.
You like that word? You like that, didn't you?
That was nice. That was nice.
My turn. I'm the words person.
Okay.
Give it to me.
So Anna is someone who is quite very interpersonal. If you come around Anna, she will make you feel good. Like, it's just this aura around her that will just lift your spirit. And so the last meeting that she went to for a big corporate, she was doing a presentation, and like everyone goes into meetings really tense. When Anna walks into the room, she always will crack a joke, crack a smile, and that just lifts everyone's atmosphere, and they start feeling a lot more comfortable. So she has a good way with people. She's also a very good communicator, and she articulates herself very well. She's very concise. Well,
I'm not.
You're not concise.
No, I'm not concise. I'm like,
but when you leave Anna, you understand what the requirements are and what she's going to give you. She's very honest as well, because you have a lot of salespeople who literally just tries and gets the deal. But Anna is someone who will actually want to provide you with a service. So because the people know that she's not trying to cheat them, they're more likely to trust her as a salesperson. So
Thanks, babe. I like that.
Okay, so weaknesses is where it gets painful.
So Gabes' weakness is that he is a perfectionist. Like, I don't think you've met anyone like him. Like, everything has to be perfect, which obviously, guys, this is not possible. So I don't know what you're trying to get to there in terms of.
And then sometimes things do take me longer than necessary. But really and truly, in the place of compliance, if I make a mistake, there's reputational damage. My manager can go to prison. So there's a little bit of, attention to detail needs to happen, or I even get in trouble and lose my job.
But it's a weakness, because nothing can ever be perfect. But you're still striving for perfection.
Yes, what's your weakness?
I don't have any weaknesses, do I?
So, what's your weakness? Anna, she gets bored very quickly. You leave her in one environment for too long, she just starts to fidget, she gets bored, she gets frustrated, her attitude just goes through the roof. Like, if we're ever sitting at home on a weekend, and like when you just have those days where you don't plan anything, and we're sitting here, she starts to get agitated with me. And I think when she's at work, she'll start to get agitated when she hasn't got work. So Her weakness is just that the fact that she gets bored. But the thing that is good about sales is that you're constantly in different environments, and you're constantly going to this sales pitch and that sales pitch, meeting this person and that person. So the fact that she gets bored very quickly is actually good for someone who actually works in sales.
Yeah. And guys, did you see what we did there with our weaknesses? That's what you all need to do at interviews. You know, you give a weakness that is actually good for the job. You don't be like, oh, I'm impatient, I didn't stay in jobs for long. Like, I'll never say that, you know what I mean? Hopefully my manager's not watching this. But yeah, you use your weakness as something that's actually beneficial for the role, for the business. But we'll talk about interviews in another video.
Yeah.
Opportunities. Oh, I'd say with Gabriel's character, like guys, you don't see the Gabes that I see. Like, he is so solid. Like, he is the most amazing. I don't know how to explain it, but he's just the most amazing man. And like, the gold and the wisdom that he shares is just fire. And I really think that's something that people haven't seen. And I really do believe that in compliance, like the way that compliance is going, is that it's going to be the forefront of banking, because regulations are getting tough, and they're coming in thick and fast. And I think he's going to have opportunities to present, to speak, and these are things that he shied away from in the past. So I think in the years to come, he's really going to be at the forefront, because he started in compliance when he graduated. And not a lot of people do that. A lot of people are crossing over to compliance now. So by the time he's 30, he'll have more experience for his age. And I do believe that means he's going to be, you know, speaking to the right people, presenting and doing things that he has shied away from, but that I see behind closed doors. And I think that's going to be fire.
I'm not gonna cry again. I'm not gonna cry again.
No, that was really, but seriously, babe, you're actually solid.
Thanks, baby girl. So, but I think for Anna, she's actually a very good leader. She sees the potential, because sales is one of those environments where literally, because you're actually bringing money into the organization, and they're literally just drilling on you, like, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this. But Anna is someone who's able to get the best out of people. So I think she has the opportunity to grow into a management role where it's a new style of management, where rather than constantly just shouting at her employees to get this sale and get that sale, she'll be actually motivating them by actually tapping into their potential so that they can get the best for the organization. So I think in the future, you'll be growing into a place of management, not just managing your own portfolio, but managing a group of people's portfolio, and then getting the best outcome for them, which is going to ultimately change the organization. So the face of sales is going to change because of this one.
No, babe, that's so sweet.
Okay, this is getting a little bit too mushy now.
Yeah, no.
Let's carry on with the questions.
No, threats.
Threats.
Threats. What are the threats that we need to be careful of in our character, that if not reined in or tapped into, that, or not even acknowledged, that will be at the detriment of you and your career?
I think ours will probably even be the same, and it'll be the same for anyone. I think the threat for all of us is just complacency. I think in your place of work, you've just got to constantly keep learning. So if Anna's not keeping herself updated with the products and the development, she's not going to have a job anymore, because you have to be able to sell what your products are. If I don't keep up with all the different regulations that come out, I'm no longer going to be competitive in the industry. So for all of us, the biggest threat that we have is complacency.
There's no such thing as a job for life anymore. Like back in the day, you'd have one job and you'd be comfortable with that and you'd stay all the way through. But now with the company cuts and everything that's going on, like, I think it's actually a good thing, because it keeps us on our toes. Like, we need to keep stretching ourselves so that we're constantly depending on God. Like, we don't want to be able to do things by our own strength, because we can actually do so much more than we think we can. So we need to keep putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations so that we're being stretched. So whether that's a larger organization, whether it's a smaller one so that you're micromanaged by someone, or whatever it is, like, we need to keep being stretched, whether it's working your way around the organization, joining councils, joining teams, doing this, doing that, mentoring, being mentored. Like, always put yourself forward and then think about it afterwards.
Definitely. Just say, literally, the rule is just say yes and just make it happen. Literally, the ones that are in work are saying, no, don't want to do that, don't want to do that, they never grow. So just put yourself in difficult situations. Don't get complacent where you're at, and keep pushing forward.
And you'll do more than you could ever imagine. And that's something that we are trying to do. So I think that's the threat from both of us, because being married is so easy just to sit there and be comfortable
and gaze in
like,
each other's eyes.
I want to go home to my husband. Like, it's so hard.
Yeah.
But we're
on the grind.
No, we have to stretch ourselves, and some compromises have to be made. But we're going to stretch ourselves, and we're going to see and see what God can do through us. Literally.
100%.
Yeah.
So just to end the video, we've got a few more questions that people have asked us personally about certain things.
Yeah.
So we're just going to get through those questions quite quickly.
We try to do like 10-minute videos, but it just never happens.
It doesn't happen. But if you stuck this far, thank you. We appreciate you.
We really do.
So this question is, again, it's about knowing yourself. How do you know when it's time for a career change?
And I think it's basically on that last point that we said. If you're not learning, if you're not growing, if you're not maturing, then I'd say that's the right time. But you have to look at your motives. Like, what is the reason why I'm moving? Is it because things are too difficult? I don't think that's a good enough reason, because that's stretching your character, and really you're the one that needs to change, not the organisation. And you'll go to another organisation and face the same things. But if it is I'm too comfortable, I'm not doing something that I love most of the time, then I think that would be the right time to go, obviously.
But if it's a sense where your passion has changed, I think by you even asking the question, how do you know it's time for a career change, just basically shows like maybe a change of heart, which is actually okay. Like, you can be wanting to do one thing and then realize it's not for you and want to pursue something else. But like Anna said, just make sure that you're not leaving because the environment is too difficult, because in a difficult environment is where you're actually going to grow the most.
100%.
So literally, if your part has changed, just go for it. And you may want to do something like singing or acting or something like a bit more creative, that's the word. Creative, and those things may not pay money from the get-go. So you need to position yourself and cut back on your expenses and then start building up like money, so that when you do leave, then you have money, because you might not get paid straight away.
Because if God's giving you a vision, like, He's giving you a vision, but is it the right time? That's what you need to ask yourself also. And if you do know the time of when that's going to come, do things now to set yourself up.
Set yourself up. Because so many times people will be like, oh, I want to go into acting, and then they'll just jump. And
then they're burdened on their family because they need to stay at home, and then they're burdened on this society because they need to have a council house. Like, there's loads of stuff, but if you took the precautions at the time when God gave you that vision, you could really have set yourself up and and I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What did you not find interesting about politics?
Oh yeah, I saw this comment that someone was planning to study politics. It was just a personal thing. Like, for me, I thought it was too historical. I don't really like history. It was too much focus on ideologies, and that's when I really started to understand myself, because I became a Christian at university, and then as I began to understand myself more, I realised that that's not the career that I should go into. But for you, it might be something completely different. So I wouldn't say don't study it based on what I've said, but really understand yourself and decide then.
Yeah, great. Okay. So this is a bit of a general question. If I want to start my own company, what subjects should I study at uni? And the only reason you should study a particular subject at university is if that subject is actually going to help you in your role. So for example, if you're starting an IT company, literally go and study IT. But you can't really study business studies and say that you're going to go and start a business, because to be an entrepreneur, you need a wider set of skill sets. So I think it's more important to focus on the type of skills you be developing. So you need to be a good communicator. You need to understand money. You need to understand how to build a business. You need to understand a lot of different things to allow you to be able to start a business. So it's not necessarily about the subject, it's about the skill set. And sometimes at university doesn't really teach you that. And I think what I've learned after university is that leaders and people who want to start things, they're readers, and literally you need to dedicate yourself to reading a book every month, just to make sure that you're constantly learning. There's people who've done what you want to do, and therefore they are the shoulders that you should be standing upon. Read their biographies, read help books on how to start a business. Those are things that are going to be more practical help in order to start a business, rather than going to university. University just helps you. What does it help you with?
I guess it's time management,
discipline,
good practices.
Working with people. But in terms of starting a business, I think there's other ways to go about it. But
so make sure you do things on the side. Like if you are going to uni, because uni is definitely great, but make sure you do things on the side. Read books on the side. Go to
be part of a society, because that helps with your leadership. That helps you learning to do something, and even some things like serving in church has blessed us a lot. And you learn about leadership, you learn about setting a culture, you learn about people, helping people, serving people. Because if you're in an organization, the only way that it's going to survive is if you come from a place of service rather than trying to just make money. Because it's to serve the community like Apple does. They serve people with computers. They think less about what they're developing and more about the people's needs, and that's why they are so successful. So just find ways to be able to apply the practical knowledge that you learn with the reality of just working out. So the very final question: what do you think about taking a job that means we are away from home but beneficial for personal development?
Mate, if I was single, I'd be gone. You wouldn't even, literally, that job, mate, as soon as they say you accepted, gone.
Definitely.
But obviously, life
because
changed.
when I was getting to know Anna, I was in a process of potentially getting a job in Dubai. That's one of the ones I applied for and the one I really wanted. Obviously that didn't happen. That's one of the rejections. But literally, when you're single, you have the freedom and the perspective just to do whatever you want and just to go here, there, and everywhere. But I think growing up and getting married, my priorities have changed. So if I get an opportunity to travel, that is great, as long as I know that I'm coming back home. I don't want to be gone for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, months on end, where I am just, yes, I'm growing, but I'm looking at my life from a bigger perspective. I'm looking at my family, I'm looking at my friends, I'm looking at about my church. There's things I'm not willing to compromise on. I'm not willing to compromise on my marriage for the sake of my career. To me, it doesn't make sense. I think from me being in this relationship, there's going to be a blessing and it's going to be an overflow into my career and everything I touch, as long as I keep this right. It's not the other way around. And I think a lot of people, when they get older, like in their 60s, they look back and be like, oh, I don't know my children, my wife and I don't have the best relationship. But no one ever complains when they have a good relationship and think, oh, I wish I got that last deal. Oh, I wish I went on that last training. When you grow up, I think you realize and appreciate more that the most important thing that we have is our family. And in our relationship with Christ and going to church, those are the things that are more of a blessing to us than just chasing a job. So to answer the question, I personally wouldn't take a job that caused me to travel so much that would be a conflict in my marriage. Oh yeah, so
what?
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Really and truly, if you like our videos, share them. Share them.
Why not?
Not just in the post. We'll retweet it. No, I'm joking. But yeah, just if you like our videos, just be sure to share them.
Right. We are going to do a giveaway when we get to 15k. So help us get there. Share our videos, comment, subscribe. We're so appreciative of the love and support. We're literally just 2 people in our flat. Yeah, the windows are closed. We're kind of sweating. Just sharing, and we pray that you're all encouraged, that you're all we want to give good content to help all of us just do what we need to do here on earth. So,
definitely.
Guys, we love you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.